Morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. Welcome to the Full Hundreds, and today is the 7th of July 2020, and we're here again to bring you guys the quality news that you deserve to get. Guys, it's been a fantastic weekend with regards Black Lives Matter and all of the different movements now coming together. So guys, got a lot to discuss on the show. Without further ado, let's get to it. I want to start today with just a little brief update on what I noticed over the weekend with regards the marches. As you know, I've been putting the millennials up there, on a pedestal because they've been carrying the fight. That's the God's truth. But do you know what I noticed this week, guys? I noticed the olders are coming out now. I noticed many late 40s, mid to late 40s into the mid 50s out this weekend in a way I haven't seen before. That's promising because let's be honest, we need everybody out there. We need the 60-year-olds. I watched the Hong Kong riots last year against the laws which have now been passed. However, they rioted for a good 18 months. It started with the millennials, just like over here. Started with students. Then the workers shut down work and started marching with them. Then you had the sort of the 30-somethings join the marches. And then right at the end, you had a whole group of senior citizens. I mean, they formed their own movement. They were with the other movement, but they basically mobilized themselves. They mobilized and then they came out. So when you saw the marches, it was everyone. So guys, the reason I'm saying this is that the chemistry of the march is changing. I believe that in a very short time, we're going to see the older ones coming out. We need you all. Everyone who can come out there, we need every single one of you guys. So guys, let's get to the topic of today's show. I've got two topics I want to discuss, guys. Firstly, I don't know if you guys noticed the July 4th weekend just gone, the Independence weekend in the US. Lots of killings, lots of murders, and I'm worried. I'm worried because of two things, guys. One, are these murders really black on black type situations, neighborhoods, people in arguments? Is that happening because there's lack of police and the police have sort of pulled away and watching it all happen? So like the fire brigade walking off and just letting the building burn sort of thing? Or is it something more sinister? Now, I'm not a fake news spreader. And I started this platform specifically to fight fake news. So I'm not going to start putting out fake news. However, it doesn't mean I don't ask the question. So the second thing I'm concerned about is, could it be the police actually killing these people? So it looks bad on the community, looks better for the police. You see, you can't defund the police. When you defund the police, this is what happens, sort of thing. We're going to explore that in the coming weeks. But take a look at my first video. Welcome back, guys. I mean, I'm really not sure. I've got a few more videos to show you guys. The problem I'm having is this. We saw agitators in the heat of the riots when it was sort of like a protest / riot. We saw agitators. I brought you guys the police officers who had a police car backed up into an alley, taking bricks out. Okay, taking bricks out. Who they were for, we never saw who they were for. However, that's not normal police behavior. They were dressed in police uniform and they had a police car. We also know, and I brought you guys the Air Force sergeant who's now been arrested for killing people that I actually thought black guys or black perpetrators did. And I believe there was black perpetrators at the time because it just started happening as soon as Donald Trump made certain vile statements against the rioters. And it turns out this was an Air Force sergeant who was shooting them with homemade weapons. So we've seen this type of stuff. Now, is it too far-fetched? I'm not going to say it is them, because I do not jump on the fake news bandwagon. But this is what I'm worried about, guys. So take another look at the next video.
The July weekend has come to a close, with police reporting scores of shootings. Between Saturday morning through last night, at least 11 have died. The NYPD says there were 37 shooting incidents over the weekend, with a total of 56 victims.
CBS News' John Diaz live in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn this morning with more for us. John?
Yeah, good morning, Chris and Natalie. And as many New Yorkers spent the holiday weekend celebrating America's independence, many other people, though, spent it dodging bullets, recovering in the hospital, and nearly a dozen families getting the news that a loved one died due to gun violence. In the latest
today, New York City is still reeling from a weekend of violence. The numbers don't lie. Shootings have increased 140% compared to this time last year. The latest in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, where a 25-year-old man was shot in the stomach on Van Buren Street and rushed to the hospital in serious condition. In Harlem on Sunday, crime scene tapes stretched across Madison and East 110th Street, where police investigated the shooting of a teenager who was expected to be okay. And neighbors hate to say it, but expected something like this to happen. Around the same time in this East Flatbush neighborhood, a different shooting happened early Sunday morning on East 39th Street.
They fired 4 shots and then everybody disappeared.
Those bullets went through the front and back windshields of this white SUV. A trail of blood also left behind by the 2 victims. One was a 19-year-old man who died at the hospital.
Atlanta police spent this morning investigating several crime scenes, including one that stretched several blocks into the old 4th Ward neighborhood. Take a look at this mess. This is on Auburn Avenue, right near Edgewood. According to initial reports, at least 7 people were shot near the intersection of Auburn Avenue and Jesse Hill Jr. Drive.
Guys, now, if you're in doubt or you're not following what I'm saying, take a look at the police's perspective to the incidents of July 4th.
Here, the mayor eliminated the anti-crime units, which are probably the most effective tool that's existed in the department for decades to fight violent street crime. So that was a direct signal of surrender.
To the tension that we've all seen with the police since George Floyd's murder. Do you think that the police have somehow backed off? Do you think that there's any connection?
I think there's a possibility. I mean, listen, I spent...
So stay tuned on this platform for updates on what we find out, because I'm not letting it rest. I mean, if it carries on, if this trend carries on, then they would want to put an argument against defunding the police. I mean, the New York mayor's de Blasio has taken funding from the police to help the community, $1.5 billion. It's a lot of money. I want to switch over to the UK, guys. Those of you who've been following the news have come across the Bianca Williams story with her boyfriend and the baby in the car. If you needed any more reminders about why we're fighting, why guys are out, why people are out there marching every weekend, that's an example. Now, what I would like to say to Miss Williams is this. Your fellow athletes are doing nothing about this fight. We stand with you. It was abhorrent what happened to you. It was disgusting. Nobody should have been treated like that. They have no regard for our children. You can be in the car with a baby. I mean, I watched one in America. They had guns on the lady telling her to put the baby on the floor. And she said, no, this is my baby. It's a baby. This is a baby. How dare you tell me? And it looked like they were ready to blow this girl away because she won't put a baby on the ground in a car park. That's the sort of regard the police forces of our countries have for us as black people. You know, if that was a white family, they would have taken the man. Even if the man had committed the worst crime, they would have taken him away from his family. And yet, the only crime that they committed, guys, is that her boyfriend, the father of her child, was taking back streets, a shortcut, something we all do. You see traffic on the main roads, you know your area, you turn off and go around the traffic. That's all he was doing. Apparently him doing that made him look suspicious. Take a look, guys.
Police of racial profiling after she and her partner were pulled over and handcuffed near their home over the weekend. Authorities say their car was stopped because it was seen driving suspiciously. But Williams and her partner tell CNN they were discriminated against simply because they're black.
You never think you're going to find yourself in a situation where you are handcuffed by police and you are in a situation as traumatic as you were in.
Yeah, no, you don't ever think that. You know, they were literally pulling me away from my son, who is 3 months old. They've already pulled Ricardo out of the car. I was trying to stop them from, I thought they were arresting Ricardo. I was trying to stop them from, or do what I can to stop them from arresting Ricardo. I didn't understand why I had to be pulled out of the car and put in handcuffs. I didn't understand why I had to be taken away from my son. You know, they could have just spoken to me nicely. They could have said, you know what, miss, calm down. We're just going to explain what we're doing and what the situation is. And then, I don't know, and then do something. But instead, they just put me in handcuffs and then said that we're detaining you and we're searching the vehicle for weapons and drugs.
Ricardo, where were you coming from?
It didn't just stop there. The bad treatment carried on. Her story reminds me of the poor dads who we saw tasered at a petrol station. Many of you remember back in May sometime. It was tasered at the police station in front of his little girl crying. These people have no empathy for our little ones. Take a look at the next clip.
That was until they found out we were both athletes, and then they started asking us questions about what events do we do.
You're a European and Commonwealth gold medalist. You're also a mother. But is this now something that you have to get used to now?
Yeah, especially now where we're raising a black boy. He's then going to be going to school by himself, and he can be stopped by the police because of the colour of his skin. You know, he's going to be accused of doing things.
The police commander, Helen Harper, she said that she is satisfied that there is no misconduct. She's looked at the actions of the officers. She says she's satisfied that there's no misconduct.
Guys, now, luckily for them, they're athletes. So you can only imagine what would have happened if that was your regular Jason White and Beverly Brown driving with the baby. How that could have ended. It de-escalated when they found out they were athletes. When they found out they had a platform. When they found out they could be found out. That's when it de-escalated. Okay? Take a look at the next part.
It was what we expected. So because the video that was first put out by Limpeth Christie, it shows half of the story. You can say that I was probably in the car for 5-10 minutes not listening to the police orders. If you saw that video, that's what you can actually say. And there's no proof that I did anything, that I did otherwise, because the police were giving me instructions. Hence why yesterday we put out the full video, which now shows that within 4 seconds of them arriving toward my car, they come out batons blazing, ready to smash the window. How can I communicate or conversate to somebody, anyone, any human, within 4 seconds of them wanting to assault me or assault my property? So if she believed that that's perfectly normal, and the way her officers reacted was absolutely okay, then she's not okay in her head.
Guys, we're at the end of the show now. I'd just like to finish off with say this. All of you sports personalities, from Anthony Joshua to Ian Wright to Bianca Williams to Linford Christie, all of our black footballers, all of our black heroes, Idris Elba, where are you all? Okay? This has momentum. We need you now like we've never needed you guys before. This rubbish has to stop. You heard the young lady Bianca say, they're raising a boy. Roll on 15, 20 years from now, I experienced what they experienced 15 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. I experienced that stuff. And they're experiencing it now 30 years later. I guarantee you her son will experience it 30 years from now. When do we say enough is enough? All of you superstars, all of you black stars, get your voices out. We now have an association called the Race Offenders Register Association. Building momentum. We have a petition with the government waiting to be approved. It's not just myself now. We need your help. All of you superstars, get in touch with me. We need your help. Guys, I've come to the end of the show. Have a fantastic day. It's just the first one of the week. Hope you enjoyed my installment of the protest over the weekend. And I'll see you guys on tomorrow's show. Bye-bye now.